everyone, my name is Andrea and this is the last video of a series of videos I created to share my experiences as a volunteer in 13 different countries in the past 2 years. In this video I'm basically going to sum up everything and tell you the 3 main lessons I've learned as a volunteer. But if you check the playlist, there are plenty of other videos about my volunteer experiences, about life as a nomad and about traveling in general. So lesson number 1 for me was what I call what isn't said can't be addressed. I've said this a few times during the videos, but the volunteer experiences, they're made of people. And people are different and there's going to be conflicts, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think you learn a lot from conflicts and how to manage them and how to get out of them with a positive outcome. One of the things I learned with my experiences is how to voice my concerns in a way that isn't aggressive and with the intention to really find a solution to that and not like to offend the other person or to make the other person feel bad. It's a very difficult thing to do. I can say that I think as humans we tend to run away from conflict. But after 13 experiences volunteering in different countries in the past 2 years, I think I learned that it's a very productive thing to sit down with somebody and making sure they know that you're unhappy about something, because this is the only way that you can give that person the opportunity to address your unhappiness or your dissatisfaction and to try and make it better, or give them an opportunity to show their side of the story as well and how they feel. Because a lot of the times what we do is we just keep it to ourselves, we bottle it up, and then oftentimes it just comes out. When you've gone over it over and over in your head for too long, I think it comes out in a way that it's not the best way possible. Whereas when you start feeling something is not right or you're not happy about something and you sit down straight away and talk to that person about it, I think it's a much more effective way of finding a solution and making sure that you have a good experience in that situation. Of course, there are cases in which you will sit down, you will voice your concerns and the other person will not care because again, experiences are made of people and people are flawed, but that's fine. I think even in that situation you will come out feeling a lot better about yourself than if you just keep it in and just leave the experience feeling like it was a bad one because you didn't say anything about it. The second lesson I'd like to mention is how volunteering put me in touch with people from different backgrounds, different life experiences, different cultures as well. And I feel like it was important for me to realize that people are different, and sometimes that's not going to be a problem, but sometimes that is going to be a problem for me. I've learned to acknowledge my limitations, like what I can and what I cannot tolerate. So there have been certain behaviors that maybe like another volunteer or a guest or even maybe a host had towards me that I'll be like, well, I don't like that, but like I'm not perfect either, so I can sit down and have a conversation with that person, but I can still tolerate it. Whereas there's been situations when things have been done to me or to other volunteers, and I've learned to look at that and be like, okay, like people are not perfect, I know that, I'm not perfect, but that kind of attitude is something that doesn't go down well with me, and it's just not something that I will go through. And this is important because just because you're volunteering and you're putting yourself out there, it doesn't mean that you have to subject yourself to all sorts of situations, uncomfortable situations and difficult experiences. So for me, what I learned that I cannot tolerate is when a host or a staff member talks down at a volunteer because they are volunteers. To me, that's something that I will leave the experience immediately. And I have told this before in another video, but there was one experience in which I left before it ended because the host did that. So they talked down at me because I was a volunteer. I tried to have a conversation with them and then they just said that this is how they talk to the staff members and volunteers. So it's trying to live with the differences as much as you can, but also knowing that there are certain things that you can't and you shouldn't tolerate. And the third lesson, but not the final one, there were many lessons, but I'm just sharing the main ones here with you, is that in my volunteer experiences I saw the best in people and the best in myself as well. I think a lot of people, when you talk about this idea of giving your skills in exchange for accommodation and personal development, because there is no money involved, people seem to think, oh my god, the host is just going to abuse you and you're going to be overworked, this is slavery. Before I started volunteering, I was maybe afraid of that happening, but I was so positively surprised, and I can mention a few examples of things that I saw that I never thought I would see. For example, in Bosnia, once I was volunteering at a hostel and I was helping with the housekeeping. And then one day I was doing my shift and my host told me that I could finish early. And then I was like, well, okay, that's nice. And then 5 minutes later, I went to look for her and she was cleaning the bathrooms of the hostel. The owner of the hostel was cleaning the bathrooms. And I was like, do you need help? Because this is still my shift, like I can help you. And she was like, no, that's absolutely fine, you carry on. There was a lot of other things. During the pandemic, there were hosts who offered me to go back and stay with them for free if I needed, if I was stranded somewhere. I also saw hosts who were very passionate about their business and their projects, and that's really inspiring. And I think that helped me to see the best in myself as well. Because for example, I never saw myself as being a people person. Like, I always thought I was a bit shy and I couldn't have good conversations. But through volunteering, especially in reception positions, like I found out that I love customer facing positions. I love speaking to people, and I love helping people. I love solving problems. This is a bit of my experience in the past 2 years. I hope you guys enjoyed this series of videos. Of course, you may agree or not agree. If you volunteered before, maybe you had a different experience, but I can only share what happened to me. And to me, it's been massively positive. Again, not all experiences were perfect. There were problems as well. But even the negative experiences, I took something away from them, and I think I learned a lot from them, and maybe even more than through the good experiences. That's it from me. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Make sure you check the other videos if you haven't already. I spoke a lot about volunteering, Worldpackers, traveling. And if you're ready to join Worldpackers, please use the link below.